from the Crypt.
Hello, boys and ghouls. Welcome to episode 42 of Dads from the Crypt, the Tales from the Crypt podcast. My name is Jason. I am joined by Mondo.
Hello.
Jody's got the night off, but we also have a returning guest. She was on the Easel Kill Ya episode, and her name is Danica. Welcome back.
Hi, thanks for having me.
No problem. Thanks for coming on. I know this is a very special episode for you, so I'm glad we can make that work. Before we get into that, a couple announcements. So this is coming out on, let's see, the 13th, 14th, 15th. The next week, May 22nd, we will not have an episode coming out, but we will have our live YouTube Q&A with the one and only William Sadler. That is noon West Coast time on our YouTube channel, just YouTube for Dads from the Crypt. Come on, join us. It's gonna be the William Sadler variety show. We're gonna have some music that he's made that we're gonna be playing, and he'll be taking all kinds of questions, and we'll be hanging out. So come on, ask some questions, and then we'll be posting the audio to the podcast channel afterwards. And if you can't make it, or you just want to send something ahead of time, feel free to email us at dadsfromthecrypt@gmail.com. or DM us on Twitter or Instagram, or send carrier pigeons.
We'll be doing more and more. We'll do some social media leading up to it too. And if you ever want to see William Sadler eat fire, this might be your chance.
Maybe. He might just eat fire. The next announcement is actually something really cool. If you're in the Southern California area, there's a big horror convention happening the first weekend in June called Monsterpalooza in my hometown of Pasadena, California. Get tickets now, because I think Saturday is sold out, so you can only get Friday and Sunday individually, or you have to get them at the door. And you don't want to wait till that, because that's just standing in one extra line that you really don't want to stand in, and it's outside. So I'll be there on Sunday, so it'll be a great time. It's a really cool convention if you're in the area. Great guest, Tim Curry's going to be there. I think most of the Scream cast is going to be there. Nev Campbell, Ski Ulrich, Matthew Lillard, and Jamie Kennedy are all going to be there too.
And so will Jason from Dads from the Crypt.
And Jason from Dads from the Crypt.
Are you going to have stickers if anybody comes up and strokes your beer?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, if you come stroke my beer, I got stickers for you.
And if that makes you uncomfortable, you can just say
ask.
You can just say hi. He'll give you a sticker.
All right. But tonight we will be discussing on a dead. I can't talk tonight.
Man.
We'll be discussing on a dead man's chest. I didn't do my vocal warm-ups. This episode premiered on June 27th, 1992. Mondo, hit us with a plot synopsis.
Alrighty, here we go. So it opens up with our friendly neighborhood crypt keeper, and he's dressed as Elvis, the king of rock and roll.
Love it.
Side note, there's a new Elvis movie coming out pretty soon.
Yeah, that actually looks pretty good.
Yeah, it looks decent. I was, not to go super off track, but I was always under the impression that Elvis was kind of frowned upon for his obvious stealing of music from black artists. And then there's a guy on Twitter who's a Elvis historian that was talking about how he was actually kind of intentionally shunned by the media, and people kind of put this persona on him because they didn't want him to be famous, when he actually did a lot of activist work for black musicians back in the day. He was a big supporter of Malcolm X and of MLK, and how he would intentionally try to take black singers with him on tour in order to get them notoriety. So just interesting stuff I read about. But
yeah, I'm very curious how they handle a lot of those more controversial aspects.
Yeah, because I'm honestly really in the dark on all that stuff, so I just thought it was interesting. But anyhow, back to our good friend, the Crypt Keeper. He uses the line, "Don't be ghoul," which I think is just a wonderful pun. And then he talks about how he likes to play by ear, and his guitar pick has an ear on it. So I thought it was a really good man. Like they just nail these wraparounds, right? So anyhow, we opened up with a band called Exorcist, who's playing in their local venue, which is funny because there actually is a thrash metal band called Exorcist, but I'm taking that the name Exorcist is a play on the fact that William Friedkin directed the episode, and obviously he's the director of Exorcist.
Was the band Exorcist around in the 90s?
If I'm not mistaken, they came out in the late 80s, and I think they didn't really say where this show was set at, but it looks like LA. Like they kind of show when they go to the Skid Row and everything. LA. But they were one of those LA thrash metal bands that never really got super famous because they were just I don't know, like they're kind of a more it's kind of weird to say, but a more like street version of Slayer maybe. I don't know. They weren't my cup of tea. Anyhow, they're playing, and then the frontman, Danny, announces his bandmate, Nick, who is the guitar player extraordinaire, is married, and he introduces his wife, Scarlett, who is played by Tia Carrere, which is really cool, because this is probably coming right off of the first Wayne's World.
Same year, at least.
Where she was the Cassandra from the band Crucial Taunt. But anyhow, so she gets booed by the ladies in the crowd, because they're like, dude, we don't want our guy off the market. But then Danny pulls her up on stage and just like demeans her in front of the whole crowd, which is super uncomfortable and super not cool. And the one thing I loved about this is Nick puts his guitar down, runs off stage, and is like, fuck you, buddy. And in the back, they have an altercation. And I love the fact he just stands up for us. He's like, dude, that is not cool. You cannot talk about my woman that way. And Danny, though, also goes to the back. And then you realize the band is still supposed to be playing. And Danny's being total fucking Axl Rose here and trying to upstage the upstaging. So that happens. And then we meet Vendetta, who is I think she's safe to say that she's probably Danny's girlfriend.
I guess she's a little more on the groupie.
Just a groupie.
Just a groupie. Okay.
Maybe not just a groupie, but
they definitely had a past there.
Top groupie.
Top groupie. Was it Mother Hen or something?
Yeah, something.
You guys know.
Speaking of which, R.I.P. Cynthia Plastercaster.
What?
The woman who used to make impressions of rock stars' penises.
Oh no, I've never heard of that.
You never? Oh,
I've never heard.
We're gonna go down the rabbit hole in there. She's awesome.
Or down a snake hole.
Yeah.
So Vendetta shows off this really cool snake tattoo she has around her breast, and then says, "Hey, you should go see my artist." And he's like, "Yeah, I'll go see your artist." And then Danny says, "Well, maybe I can help you find my snake." And that's pretty weird because, like, I would figure if he has a pet snake at home, he would know where it's at. Why would she know where it's at? That's just weird.
That's what he meant.
I'm just saying that I take things literally. And we also point out Danny has some terrible tattoos. Just some terrible tattoos. Like, he needs some good work. So they go back to Danny's place, or to actually we find out later is Nick and Scarlett's place, and Danny just lives there. They try to find Danny's snake. It looks like it's just not working the way it should, and they just kind of can't find his snake. So Nick is then they go to Nick and Scarlett, and Nick's just pissed off, and he's like, all right, I'm just gonna go kick this guy's ass. Scarlett convinced him to calm down, like, let's talk to him, and then they go back towards the bed, and I'm pretty sure they're just gonna have some dessert and relax and have a good time and just chill out for the night because it's probably getting pretty late. Nick also has a weird patch of stomach hair, I noticed. Like, I don't know what was up with that, but later on he doesn't have it. But in that scene, he's got a weird patch of stomach hair. Maybe it was just my copy.
You were looking at different parts of this show than I was.
Dude, sorry, man. If anyone's got some real weird fuzzy stomach hair, I'm going to look at it. I don't care if you're a man or a woman. It's fine. And I'm not shaming him over his stomach hair. It was just looked weird. That's just life, how it is. Like, I have weird splotches of back hair. Like, what are you going to do? Can't help it. Anyhow, Vendetta and Danny go to meet, was it Farouche or Farouge? Farouche. Okay. That's how I wrote it. I wasn't sure the pronunciation. So they go to meet the tattoo artist. They're walking through a back alley, and they find his area, and then they kiss, and she walks away. And by the way, these two people are somehow the least sexy couple ever to be on screen. Like, they have like no chemistry together on screen. It's just, they're super awkward together, and I just don't want them to be in the same room with each other. But they go into Farouge's place, and he has just a weird mix of decor from kind of all around the world. There's not a whole lot of theme to it, which I actually think is kind of cool. Because if you ever meet tattoo artists, if you know, like you have a lot of tattoos, you've met tattoo artists. They never have like one style in their little tattoo booths. It's all kinds of usually cool stuff that people have given them and cool stuff that other artists have given them. So I thought that was a really nice touch for the tattoo shop. But for some reason though, like Farouche is there, who's played by Heavy D, but his boys are just nowhere to be found. I couldn't find the boys anywhere. So Farouche tells Danny that he finds what's inside of people and he brings it outside. He says your skin has a story to tell, and I'll find it, which is foreshadowing what we're about to see. And then he starts to do he basically has his helpers hold Danny down, and he starts working on the tattoo. And it's the old-fashioned tapping style of tattoo. And I don't remember what it's called, and I meant to look it up before the show, because it's called something like keku or kaku, and it literally means like pounding ink or something like that. And I think they call the tattoo something like utu, which literally means darkened skin. And I'm sounding way smarter than I am here, because I actually had a friend go and get one done. He explained this years ago over some beers. But it's a really, really cool tattoo style. I've always wanted to get one done like that, because it's such an organic way to do it. But anyhow, he then talks about his eye patch and why he doesn't have an eye. And he says a guy named Baby Doc from Haiti didn't like the tattoo, so he took out his eye with a salad fork, because Baby Doc just didn't know that tattoo removal was a thing.
Is that the son of Papa Doc?
Dude, you're just hitting these references tonight, and I'm so tired, and I'm not getting them. Like, I'm sorry. So during the tattoo, Danny has a vision of Scarlet bleeding in a bathtub, foreshadowing. And then you see the finished tattoo, which ends up being a dragon, starting at what appears to be Scarlet. Excuse me. Which really upsets Danny, because he sees like, oh crap, that's Scarlet, and he refuses to pay. And then you see Farouche standing by the door, and he says, "You'll pay later." It's almost like he found love and he didn't know what to do with it. Scarlet confronts Danny when he gets home and tells him off on behalf of Nick. It's obvious that Danny's super egotistical and he's lazy. Most vocalists are, just to be honest with you. Like, if all you do is do vocals for a band, you usually just like don't even help the band load up. It's just how you are. Like, you should learn an instrument and be useful. Danny then finds his manager Toland, and he tells him that he'll keep Nick in line, because he's trying to put all this on Nick. If you look at Toland and just look at him closely, he kind of looks like a Midnight Rider, if you know what I mean. Mm-hmm. So Danny then confronts Vendetta about the tattoo, who's actually really surprised. And then she says, well, Farouche is magical in his work. This is what he does. But she goes, don't worry about it, man. If you don't like it, I know a good plastic surgeon. I know tattoo removal, which seems reasonable. So Danny is actually the one part in this episode, Danny's reasonable. He goes, yeah, I should get this removed. Danny apologizes for being a jerk, and then you see Vendetta walk over to him, and he's sitting down, and she kind of kneels down right by his waist, and I'm pretty sure she's going to give him a foot rub, because if I was in a bad mood, that's what I would want. So next time we see them in the surgeon's office, and he's getting the tattoo removed, and he pulls the tattoo, the surgeon basically goes, wow, I've never seen that before, which is something you never want to hear at the doctor's office. Like, that's just bad all around. That's what the doctor said. That's what the urologist told me when I was getting a vasectomy. It was really weird. Anyhow, he takes a bandage off, and it's like just red blotchy stuff, but you can still see Scarlet's face in there, which is pretty crazy. So anyhow, Vendetta kind of recommends that he gets rid of Scarlet. And I think at first she means like just get her away from the band. Like, she's the kind of insinuating she's a Yoko Ono, which she's definitely not, by the way. So he meets with Nick, and he tries to mend things. You can tell he's trying to be like a bro again. And Nick is very like, all right, man, whatever. And then you see Danny kind of going crazy, where he's remembering what Scarlet said to him. And then he starts just scratching at his chest, like trying to get this tattoo off while he laughs maniacally, which is really weird. It's really weird, kind of weird how that scene goes from him and Nick sharing almost like a wholesome moment to him clawing at his chest and being all maniacal. So next thing you know, the band's playing on stage for a sound check, which is one of like the craziest sound checks I've ever heard, because they're just going at it.
Yeah. And there's like people there too, like jamming.
Well, as for sound checks, you generally have people that are associated with the band. So they only show Vendetta there, and I think Toland, which makes sense why they would be there. So not the craziest thing, but like normally you wouldn't have the whole stage production. You would just be playing. But anyhow, Danny just sneaks away, and I don't know where their house is. Is it attached to this club? I kind of didn't get that because he just walks off stage, and now he's back at their house.
Yeah.
But he meets her, and he goes into the bathroom, and she's like, "You're done? Are you done already?" And she turns around, and she sees Danny, and Danny chokes her, which is super uncomfortable scene, by the way, like super uncomfortable death scene. He chokes her, slams her head into the wall, and then leaves her for dead in the bathtub, just like his vision was when he was getting the tattoo. So Nick comes backstage after the sound check, and he's looking for her, and Danny's like, "I haven't seen her." And then he tells Vendetta, "Hey, oh, by the way, just to let you know, I got rid of her." And she's like, "Oh, great, you killed her." And she gets super excited, which is also really weird. And then they start going at it again, just proving that they're the worst couple in the history of media. But then she touches his chest, and he pulls away, and he freaks out, and he pulls off his bandages, and you see that his tattoo is just fully back there. But what's interesting is she says, I don't see it. What are you talking about? I can't see that tattoo. Insinuating that only he can see it. So Nick's back on stage, and he's all like, "Dude, I'm supposed to play this show, but I'm worried about my girlfriend, obviously. I haven't seen her." And then Tolan comes back out, and he goes, "Hey, like, Danny won't leave his dressing room." So Nick's just pissed, gets off the stage, and he's banging on the door and saying, "Hey, man, what's up, what's up, what's up?" And next thing you know, they're all together playing on stage. I think Danny has a shirt on, like the second time in the entire episode. And Danny sees his chest kind of like pumping out, like expanding while he's playing. No one else can see this, though, apparently. He runs off stage, and then he gets confronted by Vendetta, and he blames her for everything, and just like, one of the most uncomfortable scenes in Tales of the Crypt history, like just slaps her backstage and beats her up. And what's so uncomfortable about that is everyone's just watching. Like, no one steps in and is like, "What the hell's going on?" Like, all these people are just watching and just okay with what happens. And that's, yeah. He goes into his dressing room, and he takes his shirt off, and he sees the tattoo coming like through his chest. The dragon now is coming off his chest, which actually is a really cool practical effect with the dragon poking through and poking at it. And so he smashes the mirror, and you see him grab a piece of the mirror. At this point, Nick comes backstage, and he sees Vendetta, and she's being consoled by her friend. And she goes, "Danny killed her. Danny killed Scarlett." So Nick obviously freaks out, as anybody would, saying that their wife has just been killed. He goes to confront Danny and kicks in his dressing room door. And Danny's standing there, and he turns around. He's got the mirror in hand, and his chest is just destroyed and mangled. And he holds up his flesh where the tattoo was, and basically says, "I got rid of it. I got rid of it." And Nick is obviously like, "What the fuck is going on?" And then we come back, and there is the Crypt Keeper, now with a sick-ass mustache, and with a new full band he's put together. He put together a full band in a short period of time. I'm pretty impressed by that. You know how hard it is to find a drummer? And he goes, "Sorry, guys, I have to practice my garage band. You're never too cold to rock and roll." End scene. End show.
All right. Thank you, Mondo. Danica, why don't you start us off? What do you think of this episode?
So this has always been possibly my favorite episode of Tales from the Crypt, but also for me the most problematic, because like Tia Carrera, I am Filipina, Chinese, and Hispanic. I also have a couple other things in there, but growing up, there were very, very few people like me on screen. So to see this as a young person, somebody who is like me, just violently murdered, left an impact, and it made me want to interrogate what I saw as far as media representation of Asian American women. I can say that on the positive side, this episode doesn't exotify Scarlett. It doesn't sexualize her. She's the most fully clothed woman in this entire episode. Mm-hmm. Vendetta is hanging out like tits everywhere constantly. Scarlett is dressed relatively conservatively, except for maybe the opening scene when she's at the show and when she's in the robe in the bedroom, and then later the robe in the bathroom. But
and even the robe in the bathroom wasn't really sexualized. It was just what they easily could have gone the route of, oh, she's going to be naked in there, but no, like that's what you do if you're getting ready for a bath. I thought that was well done.
All right, even the men in this episode are more sexualized than she is. I mean, everybody is like hog out. So, but rewatching this now in the light of what happened in Atlanta last year and what happened to Christina Unali, who was killed in her bathroom in New York earlier this year, it was just a brutal reminder that because of how the media has depicted Asian American women for so long, some people still have these prejudices that would inspire one to precipitate these attacks. I don't know. I did rewatch it with a white man this time, and he was like, well, you know, I think that Friedkin is really interrogating the Orientalism that many men in Western cultures have because what's Yul Vazquez character's name? Danny?
Yeah.
Danny clearly wants to view Scarlet not just as a Yoko type, but as a dragon lady. Like Farouche brought out what was in him. That's what he saw, that she is literally a dragon lady. That's what's on his chest, under his skin. Like that is the idea that he has of her, despite the fact that Scarlet, all of her demands that she makes are reasonable. She just married this man. They would like to have space. This dude is freeloading off of them. He's a no talent that fucks up their shows. She would like to set some fucking boundaries. Like, fuck everything. And she's not, even when she is trying to assert herself to him, she's not unreasonably abrasive. She's just trying to be strong and state her piece, you know?
I think even when she yells at him, she doesn't yell at him out of anger. It's out of frustration.
Right.
You can definitely feel, it's kind of like everyone's had that, like, you know, I'll say my father will live with us for a while, and I had to yell at him, not out of anger, because I'm like, dude, like, you're fucking 65, get the fuck out of my house. And I think that's where she was coming from. She was just frustrated with the situation. Like, I thought that was really well done.
Yeah, she does nothing, like, there's no setup or anything to explain why he's so pissed at her, other than like, oh, there's no chick around that like, you know, wants me to behave like responsible adults. Like, it's just, yeah, it's just so like unwarranted,
Right. So
misplaced anger.
So for me, because his anger is misplaced and unwarranted, her death sequence is the most disturbing in Tales from the Crypt, because it's very natural, it's very realistic, it could really happen to anyone, anywhere. Whereas most of the deaths on Tales from the Crypt are ridiculously grotesque and gonzo. Like we have Joe Pesci getting chopped in half by a chainsaw, or there's that, you know, the sword and the acid, and the one with the magicians. Like usually everything is so far beyond the norm, but this is just so...
Yeah, there's usually a camp or something.
Right. There's like an unfortunate naturalness to the scene that just made it very uncomfortable for me.
Yeah, anytime someone's like being strangled, it's always very unsettling to me, because it's a very personal, up close like act.
But it wasn't just strangulation. So he does grab her throat, but he smashes her head against the glass, and you see blood right away, and he just keeps doing it. So it's just her bloody, and then she crumples into the tub.
Yeah.
And I mean, I obviously wasn't as a child, but again, this is a rewatch. So like knowing what I know now, like I've been attacked in the shower by white male partners. So to me, like this violence is fucking real.
Oh, wow.
And I can't, it's just a really difficult episode.
Yeah, I think a lot of times when Tales from the Crypt does kind of peel back that like the campy layer and shows a realistic death like that, like you said, that people actually die that way. Not a whole lot of people die from getting chopped in half by a chainsaw, but they legit die from acts of domestic violence like that. And and I think he definitely made a point to show. I think he probably made a point to show it in that manner, to show the brutality of, you know, domestic violence in that way. And yeah, like, you know, when I watched this originally, probably 10, 15 years ago, I don't think I saw it that way. But now being an older person with a wife and a daughter, I'm not going to pretend like it's going to affect me the same way it's going to affect you, but I definitely can understand, like, it was more disturbing to me now than it was back then, just seeing, like, man, that could happen to anybody.
I guess the only catharsis comes, and again, this is from like the reframing of the white man that I watched it. It was like, okay, maybe this isn't like the most racist thing I have ever seen. And just the scene at the end where he is literally wrestling with his own prejudices. I mean, that's hats off to that. I think
Yeah.
that's the episode's redeeming
Oh, that's
grace
by far
to
like
me.
the best part.
Yeah.
What do you think of like the tattoo artistry or the tattoo aspects as someone who?
I love neo-traditional art, and I liked the design of the piece. I actually thought when I first asked you if I could do this, I thought, well, there's enough time before the episode airs. What if I get like a recreation of that on like a little, like I really love the design. I don't like its implications in the episode, but I think it's a beautiful piece of work. So
What I thought was really cool, the tattoo design too, is the face looked like her, but not exactly like her. It was
right.
a great representation. I thought that kind of played in really cool with the mythology behind Farouche, because it was still still obviously, super realistic portraits are difficult to do, but it still looked enough like her to where you knew exactly what it was, without being an exact replication. I thought that was really really cool.
Yeah, yeah. If they try to do an exact one, because it was more fall into Uncanny Valley territory, where this is more like it took me a minute to realize that's who it was, um, until they pointed it out. I'm like, oh, okay, I get it now. They don't still linger on too much. Mondo, what do you think of this episode?
Yeah, no, I thought this was a great episode, and when I wasn't, I didn't remember the name, but I saw when I thought it wasn't going to be on, I saw William Friedkin's name attached to it. I'm like, well, I know he's not going to put his name on something that's going to be bad. And yeah, and I pretty much am in line with everything Danica said. It's what's really nice about this episode, and the thing I hated about whatever episode I just gave a 1 to that you thought was amazing by everybody else
I
hated
did not think it was amazing. I gave it 2 or something. This will kill you.
This will kill you. What I like
This
about
is by far better.
well, what I like about this is Danny from the first frame or the first 5 minutes of the episode is positioned right away as the antagonist, and he's basically creating this shitstorm around him, and you immediately see Nick and Scarlet as being the protagonists. Right away, that's immediately defined, and at the end of the day, like Danny does get what he deserved, whereas obviously Scarlet and Nick they're the tragedy in all this. But Danny still gets his comeuppance at the end. Like, he's a shitbag the whole way. At no point they try to paint him in a positive light. And at the end, he's the guy standing there with his own chest in his hands. Even though, like, no one's really happy at the end of it. I do think what's interesting, too, is being a guy who's played in bands, like, Nick is actually the more realistic portrait of a middle-aged dude in a band. Whereas, like, we still kind of got our black metal band going, but we're all a bunch of married guys who, after work, like my drummer's a school bus driver. My other guitar player teaches elementary music school. Elementary music. I'm an engineer.
I'm just picturing Otto from The Simpsons. Hey, dudes.
Yeah. But and I thought like it was really cool that they painted Nick and Scarlett's relationship as a pure great relationship. Like, yeah, you can be in a band and be a good dude and have a wife who's a good lady and live a good life. Whereas Danny was kind of that guy who just refused to get rid of that rock star life and wanted everyone else to still play rock star with him, even though they were ready to say, all right, cool, like this is my career, but this is my personal life, and they're not one and the same.
He felt very stuck in the past, and Scarlett
Yeah.
says something to that effect as well. She's like, you still act like you're teenagers in his basement or whatever.
Yes. And I have friends that, I should say ex-friends, because they went crazy over this whole past election, who are older than I am, that I played in bands when I was 18 years old, and they're still like, they can't hold a relationship down because they still want to be that rock star. They still think it's going to happen. And I'm not going to say that you should never stop following your dreams, but it's okay, though, to also still have the 2 separate worlds and keep those separate. And you can be in a band and play in a band, but still be a normal human being.
Yeah, you can still function and have relationships. And,
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah. So yeah, overall though, like I really did enjoy the episode. Except the death scenes were Tia Carrere's death scene was very, very brutal, and one of the most realistic scenes of violence you'll see in Tales from the Crypt. And like I still, man, like that the scene though when he slapped Vendetta around really bothered me, because everyone else just kind of stood around like, yeah, this is just what happens. And realistically, like I mean, I guarantee you there are rock stars out there that 100% believe it. I guarantee you somebody's out there watching this episode being like, oh yeah, she got what she deserved. And it just sucks. Because I know me personally, I couldn't just stand around and watch that happen. But then everyone just seemed like it was this is just okay. I did love that they only show him a couple times, but the kind of the bodyguard guy they show, the security guy they show is, I forgot his name, but he's a member of the Sex Pistols.
Steve Jones, I think.
Steve Jones, founding member of the Sex Pistols, and then Gregg Allman being the manager, I thought was super cool. And then Heavy D, obviously, as
what band is he in?
Leonard Skinner.
Oh, okay.
Is he in Styx?
Jethro's Tull.
Allman Brothers are ridiculously I should say underrated band, and that you have all these classic bands that people know of today, like the horrendous Led Zeppelin, the super overrated Beatles, but the Allman Brothers kind of nowadays don't get the credit they deserve, because they're actually a really great band, and a great guitar work in those bands. And then Heavy D being the tattoo, I thought was really, really cool, really nice little touch.
I loved his delivery. It was just very understated and just like,
it was very kind of ethereal.
He was good, and the first thing I thought of was like, has he done any other acting work? Because he was really good in this. Actually,
he was in the Cider House Rules. He was on Boston Public, and he was on the show Bones for a little bit.
I haven't watched any of those, but I kind of want to now because I thought he was so good in this. I mean, now that we found love, what are we gonna do with it? Come on, like.
His acting chops is no Busta Rhymes. But...
No Busta Rhymes, no LL Cool J.
My hat is like a shark fin.
All right. Moving on. Jason, what did you think of this episode?
I like this quite a bit. I mean, liked as in like, I like it. Like, oh yeah, I mean, I could watch this every day. But I appreciate this one a lot more. Especially, I love the last two episodes. The first two episodes of the season. This will kill you, none but the lonely heart. But you know, I'm a sucker for early '90s rock and roll aesthetic. That kind of like as hair metal is kind of dying out. I'm just kind of a sucker for that whole scene. Again, as you said, this was directed by William Friedkin, director of The French Connection, The Exorcist, Cruising, fun little movie.
Yeah.
And really unappreciated this movie called Bug, and I think it was in the early 2000s.
Oh, that was the one with was it Ashley?
Michael Shannon. I forgot who the woman is.
Yes, that movie is actually.
It's based on a play or something.
Yeah.
Like in a one-room hotel, they're just going crazy over like thinking that they're covered in bugs together for like 2 hours.
Really based on a play too?
I think it might be, or is adapted into, because it's really only takes place in one scene. You could definitely do that.
That's a super creepy movie. That's a great movie. I didn't know he did that. That's cool. Did he do Exorcist the beginning as well? No, he didn't do that. Okay, thankfully. All right, good.
Yeah, but which version? There's like Dominion. There's like two different versions of that one.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah.
I remember that movie started off with a cool scene when you see the battle happening and it zooms out. Everybody's crucified upside down, and then it falls off a cliff after that.
Yeah. After that. What I thought was one thing that I thought was really funny is there's the whole opening scene with the band playing, and then the two guys are getting into an argument, and he's pulling Carrere around, being a jerk. But then there's the drummer and the bassist. They're just ignoring everything. They're just trying to keep the beat. And when they go off stage, I'm just imagining in my head that the drummer and the bassist are still just on stage. They're like two robots almost.
That's professionalism.
Yeah. They don't know when to no one told us to stop, so we're just gonna keep playing. And like as the bar is closing, everyone's finally out there still playing.
So Jason, you play guitar now, so eventually you have to start a band. Like, you're just not. Don't worry about it. You're just not midlife crisis yet. In like 5 years, you'll have a band. The cardinal rule and the cardinal sin in a band is if no matter what happens, you just keep playing.
Mm-hmm.
That's a one rule, because most people won't recognize when you fuck up. You will, but if you just keep playing, they'll just figure it out.
Yeah.
And if you have to, just keep turning the distortion up till they can't do what you're playing anyways.
Right. But yeah, I just thought that was really funny. Like, I'm sure it's totally unintentional. It was just like for practical purposes.
Well, I thought it was interesting as they mentioned how they played all over the world in arenas and now they're back home. yet the front man can't afford his own place to live.
Yeah.
But also, it's if you've ever I've seen some weird stuff happen. Like I'm not even gonna lie, I saw a local metal band here. This was 15 years ago probably, where the guitarist got kicked out because he answered his phone on stage and stopped playing.
What?
Yeah, legit happened.
That's
and
amazing.
That's the kind of shit I've seen, weird stuff like that at local shows, but I've never seen from a professional band. And
That's
you would
crazy.
think this is a professional band, but I also think that William Friedkin was going for a little bit of the Axl Rose vibe from the front man, because Axl was notorious for doing anything that would put the attention on him.
Yeah, I mean, we'll get into it in a minute, but the whole band part has nothing to do with the original comic, which I always find very interesting how they adapt these things. But we'll get to that in a moment. So yeah, Danny's played by Vazquez. This is only his second role.
Oh, really?
And I was gonna do this for trivia, but I've got something else. But I'll say it now. So he actually was in a couple bands around that time. He played in Urgent and Diving for Pearls, which sounds like a weird sex act. So he actually is maybe going a little method with his performance here. I'm wondering, as being a guy who's probably in similar bands. He went on to do movies like American Gangster. He was in the first season of Russian Doll, and he was also recently in Severance, which I really want to see. I think it's Apple TV.
Apple TV is just killing it on the stuff they're bringing out and their originals, and it's only $5 a month. It's a great value.
Paul Hipp plays Nick. He was in the original Bad Lieutenant, which is a crazy ass movie. He has a small role in Face Off. He was also in Carnival, among a bunch of other things. Tia Carrere, obviously well known. She actually was in General Hospital for a long time, which I didn't know. She was in both Wayne's World movies. She was she was in Rising Sun. She was in True Lies, and she was in this great little show called Relic Hunter. It was kind of like Indiana Jones meets Lara Croft meets Sci-Fi Channel.
So can I add, I grew up with all of that, and so to watch her, especially to watch her coming from Wayne's World, where she's so phenomenal as Cassandra, like every Asian American girl wanted to be her. She's so enormously talented when she's performing with Crucial Taunt, and so to see her in kind of this sidelined role, not just where she's marginalized but brutally murdered, was fucking horrible as a child. Just because we had somebody to look up to who is in contrast to, say, like Joan Chen on Twin Peaks with her like what is shenanigans, reminding us of like what everybody thought of Asian Americans at that time, like, oh, your mom can't fucking speak English. No, we had a beautiful Asian American role model who was strong, only to have that image flipped around. Oh, she's just disposable. That's hard. That's why this episode was hard for me.
That's interesting. Hey, it's kind of cool. I was going to ask you your opinion of her in Wayne's World, because I always loved her in Wayne's World, thinking that she was that they never played her. She's always just she's the strong woman character in that entire show. That entire movie or movie series was really great. Yeah, and I'm not 10-year-old me like fell in love right away with who didn't love Tia Carrere when they saw her on screen, like. But not just but yeah, she's obviously a gorgeous woman, but man, but the way they portrayed her and the way she acted was just fantastic.
I do love how strong and charismatic and just incredible she was in those films. What I didn't like was there's a line that Wayne says that really bothers me. It bothered me then and it bothers me now, because he first says it about the fucking guitar. He was like, it will be mine. And then he sees Cassandra and she's like, she will be mine. And it's a refrain that we hear in the first one and the second one. And just like, well, so she's an object to be yours. Even though, because the first one was directed by Penelope Spheris, it doesn't objectify her as horribly as it could have. I think it tries to steer away from that as best as possible, but the dialogue objectifies her, and that was an issue for me then and now.
Yeah, I mean, Wayne is supposed to be kind of a dopey character to begin with.
No, that makes a lot of sense. Yeah. So like, and again, I never saw it that way, but like, it's like, I don't. But what I'm trying to say is, I don't care how I see it. Like, I love when I hear people like you who tell me what they see in it. Because I think about, like, oh yeah, that makes 100% sense. Because he does talk. I never thought that he talked about her just like he talks about the guitar, and that's kind of creepy.
So yeah, Vendetta is played by Sherrie Rose, who low key is kind of like a recurring Tales from the Crypts actress. I think she was in the episode. I think it's Skin Deep, where she plays a really creepy character with like a doll face. And then she's also in Demon Knights.
Oh yeah, okay.
I think she's only there for like a couple seconds. She is, I think, either a waitress or something. She works at the cafe that Thomas Hayden Church's character works at. So it's like that scene in the beginning where they find William Sadler's breaking into a car, and then at the very end, towards the end, where they're in the cave, there's a possessed demon woman walking around. I think that's her.
Have you ever seen The Wedding Singer?
Oh yeah.
So you know when John Lovitz is singing Ladies Night?
Yeah.
How cool would it be if he did a cover of that but called it Demon Night? It's Demon Night. I'd pay for that. John Lovitz, if you're out there, I will pay like $35 for this. So
there you go.
You let me know.
Get him on Cameo. So yeah, I kind of liked her character. Like, it sucks what happens to her, but I thought she was kind of a fun little character. We already talked about Heavy D and Gregg Allman of the Allman Brothers playing the manager. I used to rock out to Jessica on Guitar Hero all the time. That was like my jam. I loved it. But overall, yeah, the creature effects, again, I wish I wanted more of them, which is, I guess it's always good to want more than wanting less. But oh yeah, I want more of those dragons popping out of his chest. That was really cool. I
do think it's I think in this situation though, less is more, because everything else is very realistic violence. When that happens, it kind of catches you off guard because you don't expect to see the dragon coming out of the chest. Like, I did not expect to see that. Like, I remember the episode, but did not remember the dragon.
Yeah, it was almost like a chest burster in a way. That would have been cool. But yeah, I like this episode quite a bit. Quite a bit. Okay, should we talk about the comic?
All you, brother. Go for it.
Okay. I'm just going to read a quick synopsis of the comic. It's very different. A younger man's brother begins an affair with his wife. After the three of them go out for a night on the town, the elder brother gets a tattoo on his chest of himself, his brother, and his wife, arm in arm. The younger brother and the married woman hatch a plot to murder the husband, where it will look like an accidental slip and fall in the bathroom. The younger brother pins his brother's arms, and the wife clouts him in the head with a club. After he's dead, she glances at his chest and screams in horror. She pulls a gun and shoots dead the younger brother. When the police respond to the shooting, they find her madly scrubbing at her dead husband's chest, unsuccessfully attempting to remove the tattoo, depicting the man with his arms pinned by his brother while his wife raises the club over his head. So, yeah, this is an extremely different adaptation of the source comic. And that was Haunts of Fear, Volume 1. I'm sorry, Volume 1, number 10. So yeah, there's no tattoos coming to life. There's definitely no rock bands. So yeah, I think sometimes this would have been a pretty plain episode if they did that verbatim. So I'm kind of glad they added a lot of elements to it to kind of elevate.
And I do like that in an episode about musicians, they brought in a lot of musicians to act the parts.
Yeah.
I was that's kind of cool.
So we're not going to have an Al's anecdotes, because actually they talk about this episode quite a bit in one of the episodes of How Not to Make a Podcast. I believe it's episode 7, where they have Gil, Adler, and Alan talk about getting William Friedkin to do this, and how Friedkin insisted that there be a live band playing live music and not like a background track they're just kind of miming to. So, which of course, makes a harder production, but definitely enhances the episode. But yeah, there's some great stories about how that this episode came together. A lot of good background with Alan Gill. Check out episode 7, How Not to Make a Movie podcast.
Oh, real fast. One thing I want to say too is we're talking about musicians. Is that Tia Carrere actually put out 3 records.
Oh, really?
As just a solo records. I don't want to say any more than that because I really honestly haven't heard them. And I don't want to butcher the names because one of them, the newest one she did in 2010, has it's a Hawaiian album title. But I just think that's really cool that she took kind of like the image she had from Wayne's World and actually made some music off of it, and I thought it was really neat.
Nice. All right. Do we have any final thoughts on this episode?
I have one related to the comic.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Never, as somebody who has done this, never, ever, ever get a tattoo that involves, oh, I don't know, the face of a romantic partner, because you never know what's going to fucking happen.
So you're saying if I ever hook up with Doug Bradley, I'll have to get this removed?
I think you'll have bigger issues. But...
You know what's funny is like my wife and I have been together almost 20 years. We got married as babies, but we've always been very big believers in that you never get your lover's name tattooed on you, because I've never known a single person that's had a lover's name tattooed on him that it worked out.
Yeah.
And this is going back to my friend Russ, who at 16 got his girlfriend's name tattooed on his back. So shout out to Russ if he's listening. I don't think he is.
Mono, that's why I don't have your name tattooed on me.
Not yet.
Oh.
but Jason, though, we're not lovers, so you can totally get it tattooed on you. It's fine.
Okay.
But then if we become lovers, you'd have to get it removed, because then it'd be weird. Then it would be weird. Yeah.
Jody would be jealous. All right. What do we rate this episode? Danica, 1 to 5. You can do half points.
5.
5. Nice. Mondo.
I'm gonna go 5 too. This is between 4.5 and a 5. And if I can't decide, I'm just gonna go higher. I'm gonna say 5. I think it's one of the best episodes of Tales from the Crypt. Well directed. Like I think Danica get most of the points on this. It's just well directed. Like it's got some uncomfortableness, but at the end, it's a tragedy. It really is a tragedy when you think about it. So I really love this episode.
All right. Mondo, what's your prediction on what I'm going to do?
3.5.
I'm going with a 4.
Oh, okay.
Hey.
No, I really like this episode. It's not the top. It's echelon of Tales from the Crypt. I really, really like it.
Yeah. So and there's nothing wrong with a 4. Mm-hmm. Like 4, that's a great episode. It's a great.
No, this would be on my list of definitely watch.
That's great work.
Alrighty. Again, in lieu of Al's anecdotes, go listen to episode 7 of How Not to Make a Movie podcast on our feed. We basically spent an hour with Vanessa Burrows, the casting director, Todd Masters, who does like all the FX, and Gil Adler, who produced a lot of the episodes. And they just talk about a lot of different great episodes, tell stories about Tim Curry, Elizabeth Taylor, who they were trying to get onto an episode, all kinds of great people.
And just to chime in, like I don't hear any of these episodes in advance, and I'm excited for them to drop on my feed because Al is a great storyteller. Mm-hmm. And you can hear how passionate he is and how happy he is and excited he is to do these episodes. They're really fun.
Yeah.
They're really fun.
All right, Mondo, give us your song of the day.
Alrighty, I was bouncing around a bunch of stuff because I didn't want to do the same band twice.
I was really curious.
Well, I didn't want to do the same band twice. My first thought was like, let's go 90s Bay Area. But then at the very last minute, the Crypt Keeper swayed me. Because he said a line at the end. He said, "You're never too cold to rock and roll." So there's a song by the band Dark Throne, who I've used before. And I used one of their songs called Transylvanian Hunger, which is early 90s black metal. And that was considered one of a million bands have covered that song because it was just considered one of the early like gems of black metal. But as the band progressed, what I love about Dark Throne is every album you can tell Fenrir is a drummer, kind of writes a lot of the music. Nocturno Culto, also known as Ted, is his guitar player. And I can't pronounce Fenrir is he goes by Fenrir. I forgot his, I know his name, but I can't pronounce it. Really, he has a really great Patreon called Fenrir's Metal Pact, where he just plays a lot of bands that he falls in love with. And what's cool about him is he's a historian when it comes to metal. Like, you think I know some shit, like I know like 2% of what he knows. But they released a record in 2006 called "The Cult Is Alive," and again, Dark Throne, Soulside Journey, their first record was death metal. Then they released "A Blaze in the Northern Sky," which a lot of people consider to be the first ever Norwegian black metal record. And then they went from there and released all this stuff, and they had ups and downs in their careers, but they kind of figured like found their musical like where they wanted to be, and they realized they don't have to get pigeonholed in the sound. They can do whatever they please. So they released a record in 2006 called "The Cult Is Alive." But right before that, they released an EP, which several songs appear on that, just in different forms. But the EP was called "Too Old, Too Cold." And one of my favorite songs ever in the history of music, because it's just aggressive and thrashy, but also with that black metal sound and that black metal tinge to it. And the first verse goes, "Nothing to prove, I'm just a hellish rock and roll freak. You call your metal black, it's just plastic, lame, and weak." Like, come on. Like, I'm in. And the choruses were too old, we're too cold. And it's just about kind of how, as you get older and you listen to more and more music, it's funny because I think we all gravitate to the stuff we fell in love with when we were younger. And not to say that good music doesn't exist at our age. It does. Like, if you try to tell me right now that good music isn't coming out, I'm going to tell you that you're looking in all the wrong places, because I just spent way too much money at Z Records today to buy new music. So great music's coming out, but I always feel sometimes when I hear some of these new bands, I can pick out and be like, man, like, it's done before. And then my brain always says, am I just too old and too cold for this shit? It's a really cool EP, though. The song's also on the album "The Cult Is Alive." The EP "Too Old, Too Cold." The cool thing about the EP is it's got a song called "High on Cold War." "High on Cold War," which I guess is very, very relevant to nowadays, to modern times, with Grutul from the band Enslaved on vocals, and they do a cover of Sushi and the Banshees' "Love in a Void," which is, I always love when these really underground metal bands do really cool like covers that are outside of their what you would think would be their genre. Shout out to the band Krieg, who also did a cover of Velvet in, was it Venus and Furs, or Venus and Furs, from I can't remember the band name off the top of my head.
Velvet Underground.
Velvet Underground, thank you. Yeah, like one of the first like ever really S&M songs to come out. But they did a cover of that in a black metal style and just out of this world. But yeah, great EP, great record. So the song is "Too Old, Too Cold" by the band Dark Throne, all one word. And you can find it on the EP "Too Old, Too Cold" or the full-length album "The Cult Is Alive."
Nice. Alrighty. For trivia, I was just looking this up while you guys were, Mono was synopsizing the method of tattooing that they're actually doing, and forgive me if I mispronounce this, Pog Badatak.
So there are actually different names for it based on what culture is doing it, actually.
This is, I guess the one I looked up is the Filipino method.
Yeah.
Is practiced by hand tapping the ink into the skin using a thorn attached to the end of a stick. The thorn is usually from a lemon plant and is called a site. The bamboo stick to which the thorn is attached is called a gisi. The short stick that is used for hand tapping is called patik. The ink is used from soot and mixed with a little water inside a coconut mixing bowl. And a blade of grass is also used to create a pattern on the skin after it is dipped in ink. After the pattern is drawn, the tattooing session begins. The thorn is dipped into the ink and follows the pattern drawn before with the blade of grass. This is done using a short bamboo stick with the thorn needle. The same pattern is followed until the whole ink is absorbed from the needle. This method is indeed a form of indigenous art, as it utilizes indigenous material as a medium for creation of different artworks. So I'm looking at pictures. It looks really cool, but also sounds really, really painful.
Oh, if I can also bring up, the area they tattooed on him, the fucking sternum, is the most painful area I've ever gotten fucking tattooed.
Felt like I fell asleep when I got my sternum.
Your sternum? Oh my god.
So that brings us to our dad advice, and the reason I'm butting in is because I want to get some tattoo advice. So I figured, what two better people to get some tattoo advice from? Tell us some tattoo advice, some tattoo stories, tips, what to do, what not to do.
Dude, I'll just say the sternum. Yes, you're Danica is saying the sternum didn't suck for her, but for me, I've never had any problem with any tattoo. But that tattoo, I almost tapped out on. Like that was fucking painful. Like, don't ever if you get your sternum done, like just prepare because it's gonna suck. Get the life out of you.
Honestly, it depends on your threshold of pain and also if you have any pre-existing conditions. So because I have hip dysplasia, the most painful spot on my body I've ever gotten tattooed was down by my ankles, since that's where all the nerves are concentrated.
That's
I
interesting.
didn't feel it around my ankles, but I felt it in my hip.
Interesting. Wow, that's
Yeah.
crazy. Like I've gotten like my whole chest, none of it really hurt except for my sternum. A little bit in the collarbone. I was getting the pins done for my pinhead tattoo. But that was really it. That was that was really painful. But like my best advice I'm gonna say is like if you ever recommend an artist to somebody because they do good work and they tell you it's too expensive and they go to someone cheaper, it's gonna be cheaper work. It's gonna be bullshit work. Like tattoo artists charge money because they're good at their craft. If someone's trying to bargain with you and say, "Oh, that guy says 150, I'll do it for 100," it's probably because they're not that good. Spend the money. Like I'm not gonna lie, my arm tattoo over where I can't see the angel over here. This is a kitchen tattoo I got when I was 19. It's a bad note, but I'm probably gonna get it removed to get that real estate redone with someone I really want now at the age of 39. But pay money and go to good artists, and you're gonna get good work. You're gonna get good results.
For as permanent as a tattoo is and how expressive it is, yeah, I understand why you wouldn't want to go to the best that you can possibly.
But it's easier to say that at our age than it is to say that when you're young and just want to get work done to get work done. But man, like a great tattoo artist costs money, and it's worth every penny you're gonna pay.
My other advice is to be mindful of the designs that you're choosing. Because Farouche even says to Danny, like, yeah, your work tells a story. Your work tells the story of some guy that got drunk and just like had $30 burning a hole in his pocket. It's shitty work, like shitty story.
It's true, and you know what? Like for people that are our age, there's nothing wrong with if you don't like something getting removed and getting someone else done. It's okay. Like tattoo artistry has evolved so much over the past 10-20 years that it's ridiculous what some of these artists are doing now, and I mean that in the best way possible. But there's a reason why good tattoo artists charge you money, because they're good at what they do and they're charging for their skills.
Yeah, I obviously don't have any tattoos, but I love the artistry that is put into it. I love looking at them. I find it fascinating. I used to live like within walking distance to the Pasadena Convention Center. So after my kids were born, I would just put them in the stroller and take them for these long walks so they would nap. And I would always go by the convention center just to see, what was going on, like on a random Saturday or Sunday. And I remember one time there was a tattoo and piercing festival. And it was no charge. So I was just walking through all these displays and all these booths and everything with these two kids in the stroller, just looking at all these cool artwork and everything while the kids were napping. It was really fun.
So let me ask you a question, because you're saying you admire the art. Why haven't you gotten any work done? What's the holdup?
It just never seems something I want for myself.
Okay.
It's like going to. I'm not too people. I'm not objectifying people, or it's more like looking through an art book.
Oh no, definitely. I get
or
that.
Like going to a museum and just like, oh, I really appreciate that painting. I don't know if I'd want it in my house.
Yeah, no, I think it's 100% good reason. Yeah, no, that's good.
I thought about what I would get if I ever did, and probably I like geographical shapes. It's kind of cool. Like there's like infinity symbol shapes, that kind of thing.
Oh, so you're now back in college? Okay.
Yeah, exactly. Like I'm just saying, if I was for me, but I like lots and lots of different kinds, but I always thought that was kind of cool.
Well, that's cool. No, I know people that really appreciate the art form, but they're like, I just don't know if I'd ever want anything on me, and that's fine. There's nothing wrong with that.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, cool. Is there any other things that you would say not to do? Don't under any circumstances.
Like again, living in Las Vegas. If you've been drinking, or you've been getting high, and a tattoo artist agrees to tattoo you, they suck at their jobs. They shouldn't be doing work. You should never be under the influence of anything when you go and get work done. People think like, oh, well, no, it's actually going to enhance and heighten your senses in a lot of ways and make it even worse.
You'll also bleed more if you've been drinking.
Oh, yeah,
definitely,
makes sense.
Definitely bleed more. And also respect your tattoo artist. Like, so my guy, I'll shout out to Jason Paxman from Broken Dagger, who's done all my chest. He did the Jason, have you seen the one on my thigh, my Beyond tattoo on my thigh?
Yeah.
Yeah, he did that one too, and did my Cobra Commander one. He's done most of my tattoos, the good ones at least. He still, even to this day, like, he charges me $150 just for a consultation, and they do that for a reason. Like, granted, if I probably told him I couldn't do it, he wouldn't care. But respect your tattoo artists. They charge money for a reason because they're working. When you ask them for a consultation, that's work. They don't just draw stuff for free. Like, you're asking them to do their job. So respect your tattoo artist. Respect their opinions.
Why didn't we have him on the show?
Oh, dude, I can get. He's and he's a dad too. I can get Jason the show, man. Jason would totally come on the show.
Yeah, it's a perfect episode.
Yeah, it would have been a great episode to have him on. But respect your tattoo artist, man, and understand, like, they don't want to put their name on terrible work. Like, I've seen people come in while I'm getting tattooed by him, and they'll be like, "Oh, can you cover up these dice I got?" And he's like, "Dude, like, I can't. You need to get a removal because nothing I do is going to make you happy. Like, yeah, can I charge you $150 an hour to do some work on it? Definitely. But no one's going to be happy with the results. So trust your tattoo artist because they're professionals. You would trust your doctor? Well, you should. Trust your tattoo artist. Yeah, like I said, don't do any illicit substances.
Do you tip tattoo artists?
Yes, you definitely tip your tattoo artist. You definitely tip your tattoo artist. So most tattoo artists, the reason why they charge you $150 an hour is because 50% of that goes right to the shop they're working at. It doesn't go into their pocket. Mm-hmm. And most tattoo artists, if they do 3.5 hours, they'll charge you for 3. If a tattoo artist works on you for 4 hours and charges you for 3 hours, guess what? That extra hour, take care of them. They're trying to take care of you. You take care of them.
Cool.
So, Jason, if you had to get a tattoo tomorrow, what would you get?
I don't know. I'd have to really see you do it. Yeah, I'd have to really. I have to see what I have to find the person. I have to see what the vibe is.
Have you ever looked at a piece of art and been like, man, that'd be cool to have as a tattoo, or a scene from a movie or a comic book or anything?
No, not really.
Just
like,
wonder.
Just I like, probably one of the coolest things I have. It's right on my desk actually. Is when I was at this like art fair, and this guy does scenes from movies using the words from the script. And there's like negative space where you can see it. So I have one of The Big Lebowski with Jeff Bridges and Steve Buscemi and what's his name?
John Goodman.
John Goodman. Like, they're all kind of sitting there, and it's just made up of the words from the script. And it's just
really.
Yeah.
Send me a picture of that. You know, it's like my favorite movie of all time. So
yeah.
Yeah.
And actually, I haven't seen them at this art fair, and they had it again this week, a couple weekends ago. And I want to look for them and see if they had anything, because I want to ask. I need to find him. I want to see if he'll do Demon Knight. I think that'd be really cool.
With John Lovitz singing the theme song.
Yeah, no, I like art, like hanging around, but I don't know. I don't need to embody it.
Zero things wrong with that. And I also think that people shouldn't get a tattoo just to say they got a tattoo. Like, get something you want. Get something that's going to mean something to you. And you know what? If the meaning behind a tattoo is it looks fucking badass, that's totally cool too.
Yeah, totally.
Danica, do you have a favorite tattoo you have? If you can't say it, it's totally cool. It's totally cool. It was last.
Just say
like
yes.
This episode, it's something that I simultaneously love and hate, and it was also it's also the same tattoo that I advise everyone else against getting.
I respect this. All right.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. I think that wraps us up. Danica, thanks for coming back.
Yeah, thank you.
Where can
Thank you
people
for
find
having
you? What do you want to plug?
I have nothing really to plug at the moment. People can find me on Instagram. I guess the only thing is have a graphic novel, Unsustainable, that is being shown at the Institute of Contemporary Art in London at the
Super awesome.
Decriminalized Features exhibit, which I believe is wrapping up soon. So very, very short time frame people have to catch this show, which is about it's about sex work. So done by sex workers. I mean,
Nice.
the art is done by sex workers, to be yeah.
All right. Well, again, thanks for coming on. Next week, we will be doing our live episode with William Sadler. We hope to see you then. We appreciate everyone for listening. And
Oh,
we really
wait,
appreciate
Jason, before we go,
yes,
we are
sir,
recording
yes, sir.
this on Thursday the 12th, which is Friday the 13th Eve. So please make sure tonight you guys leave out your milk and cookies for Jason Voorhees.
Yes. Okay. We'd really appreciate it if you would give us a rating and review on iTunes and a rating on Spotify. And with that, we thank you for listening to Dads from the Crypt.
Adios.
Follow Dads from the Crypt on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram, or I will follow you to the grave. No, seriously, you really should watch. But be careful what you ask for. You may get it.